My name is Sandra Gea. I'm a French-Spanish collagist. I work exclusively in analog, which means that I cut and process all my pictures by hand. Most of the time, I use a very special pair of scissors that were given to me when I was 8. They are the gift of a master cutler that passed by the village where I grew up in France, and he gave them to me as a thank you for filling up his bottle of water. So even if I didn't pursue an artistic career since the beginning, this man planted in me the seeds of my future. My background is translation and interpretation. The study of foreign languages and cultures taught me the importance of meaning within a context. Finding my own artistic voice and language with collage taught me the exact opposite, that I had to take pictures, which are the representation of words and meaning, out of their context, to create my own narrative and bring my own meaning and poetry into the final piece. As a first-generation immigrant, the subjects of identity and belonging have always been very present in my mind. As a teenager, that would be the cause of my anxiety and depression. Around this time, I was introduced to collage through an art lesson, and it's very interesting for me to observe that the pillars of my current practice, namely feminine identity, body memory, and resilience, were already present in this first collage. Collage is for me a medium to tell the stories that live in my body, and it always starts with the tension between my sociocultural conditioning, the stories of the women before me, and contrasting with the desire for more freedom, more space, more self-expression, also a nostalgia for the wild, for the primitive feminine essence, for a return to nature. So all these elements interact and blend through the process, where my old personal story disappears and the result is a story given out into the world, something more universal. I find inspiration in world mythologies, in archaeology, and in the primitive art of different cultures. I am especially passionate about researching the Mother Goddess representation in pre-Christian civilizations. Nature is also a source of inspiration and regeneration in my practice. I love spending time in nature, observing the cycle of the seasons and how they align with the cycles of my own body. Since collage is quite a flat and static medium, I like to find inspiration in sculpture and dance, and I really love the art of Louise Bourgeois and the choreographies of Pina Bausch. A year ago, I moved to the village of my ancestors in the south of Spain. I felt the need to reconnect with my roots and to research the socio-cultural context in which the women before me lived. I am currently focusing on decolonizing my body from the impact of patriarchy and finding ways to document this process through a new visual language. I would say that the biggest challenge of being an artist is finding balance in vulnerability. First, in vulnerability with myself. I believe that an authentic art comes from this vulnerability, from being honest with my feelings, with my emotions, with exploring the many depths and facets of being human. Then there is a second vulnerability that comes from the exposure to the world, to the sensibilities of people, And there are as many sensibilities and opinions as people in the world. So this requires from me that I build strong resilience muscles and that I am grounded in my roots to be able to endure the tension between the internal and the external vulnerability. To my younger self, I would like to say that your high sensitivity and intensity is not a burden or a curse. On the contrary, it is a beautiful gift to sense and feel so deeply and so intensely, and to live with such fire and passion in your heart. And please, please do not dim your light. Do not dim your voice to make anyone comfortable. I collect pictures from discarded magazines, books, packagings, anything paper that catches my attention, basically. So that is already working with an unconventional medium. Once I rescued a book from the garbage. It was a book about the female characters in old horror movies, and that was a very interesting resource to work with. Another resource that I enjoyed working with and I'm quite sentimental about are tiny pieces of wallpaper that were found by a friend of mine when she restored a flat in Moscow. And there are pieces of old newspapers from the time of the Soviet Union. And we can see the different layers of paper blending with the plaster. And for me, that's in this tiny piece of paper, if I get a bit sentimental and I act like an archaeologist, I can see how history and human lives collide in this piece of paper. And that's something that I consider very precious. I don't listen to music while creating because I find it distracting, and I want to be fully present to my creative process, to my body sensations, and to my emotions. Also, I find the sound of my natural environment very comforting, the sound of the nearby street, the birds that come singing at my window, the sound of the wind, or the sound of the rain. And that's really enough for me to create this cocoon of creativity and for me to get into flow without adding an extra background. Nonetheless, sometimes I'm asked to create artworks on commission that are inspired by songs. In that case, I will spend time listening to the music, getting impregnated by the atmosphere of the song, of the lyrics, before getting into the process of researching the pictures or creating the artwork itself. The best reaction someone has had to my artwork is from a dear collector, and he's told me a few times that I have a gift to make the invisible visible. I would like my artworks to open a door into people's hearts and imagination, that they continue dreaming and conversing with the pictures, that maybe my body memories and my body stories are also helping them remember their own body stories and personal mythologies. You can connect with me through Instagram. My handle is @theartofsandragea, or through my website www.sandragea.com. Also, I would like to take the opportunity to invite you to my monthly free embodied collage session, and you can book your seat through my website as well. I look forward to meeting you there, and thank you for listening to this interview.